Thank you guys for joining me tonight. We've been talking, well, we started last week talking about and asking questions, and I asked my lovely husband to join me to answer some questions that women have that they want to know about men. But I also wanted tonight to talk about this and what men want women to know. Okay, so I thought that would be interesting for us to kind of ask some questions about what do they want to know about women. And I wanted to share this before we get started, and that is that one thing I want to share about women that I found out in just history, just going back through history, that and women have really went through a lot of abuse because they have been misunderstood, they've been misinterpreted, they have been left ignorant and uninformed, and it's just some things that they've gone through that has kept them in a place of where they have not been able to be who God has made them. Okay, because God made us the way we are, and it's nothing wrong with being a woman. And I have a lot of times women say, "Oh, I wish I was a man," and that comes from not understanding and valuing who you are, and understanding why God made you the way He made you and what your purpose is. So that I think is important to know. And then once you understand that, there's no way for you not to be just totally excited about who God made you. It's just no way when you understand. Okay, but when you don't understand something, and I like this, I heard Dr. Miles Monroe say this, is that when you don't understand how something is made, or its intentions are, then abuse is inevitable. If you don't understand how something works or what the purpose of it is or what it is intended to do, abuse is inevitable. So we have so many women, that are sitting in places of abuse, and some don't even realize that they're in a place of abuse. They don't even understand that, but they are, because they don't understand their value, and then of course men don't understand the value of a woman either. So I just want to talk about that a little bit tonight, and see if you guys have any questions that you might have already had, because I shared with you last week we're going to be doing this week. And I wanted to open up to any questions that you might have tonight. So you guys are off mute. So if you like to just go ahead and ask. Now I don't have the ability to. I'm gonna Tasha, if you kind of take over to kind of help to moderate and field the questions in hands, that'll be a blessing. All right. So you guys are off mute.
You said the subject is what men want women to know. I said, what are some of those things?
Right. The subject is what are some of the things that men want women to know? All right. Um, Honey, are you able
I'm
to?
here. Yep, I'm here. What does a man want a woman to know?
Yes.
Well, I mean,
well, hold on. That's broad. That's a broad statement. Let me give
yeah,
you.
that's yeah. I was gonna say.
Uh-huh. Okay. So we can start with, okay, so security is very important to a woman. So let's start with, for her, security might look a many different ways, but we can, career, or it seems like, well, what you have or what you don't have. So we can start there. What is going through a man's mind, what he wants her to know as far as security, or his role in that.
Right. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you. Because yeah, you're right. The other one was way too broad. Okay. So now Mama Dixie just got finished saying, her and I, like, she doesn't look to me as her source. Okay. That if she needs something, she goes to God. What she didn't share was when she goes to God, that she is also praying for me. Okay. She's doing that as well. Because here's the thing. So a man does want to feel as though he is, you know, taking care of, you know, giving security to his wife. Okay, now remember, you guys, I'm old school. Okay, I'm not talking about, you know, I don't know what the younger folks think. I don't. I can only say what I think. And my thing is, I want to make certain that I give my wife a sense of security. Okay, that she's okay. That, you know, there's a roof over the head. There's food on the table. You know, there's insurance paid. You know, the basics of life. That I got that covered. Does that mean that it's me supplying? No, because again, I have to go to God. She has to go to God, and God has blessed me to be able to do that. Okay, so that's one form of security, is to feel, because a man, remember, the biggest thing to a man is he has a tremendous need to feel respected. Okay, and he has a tremendous need to feel as if he is taking care of things. Nothing is worse for a man than when he doesn't feel like a man. Okay, and we've seen this happen where, let's say, for example, the man, you know, is out of work, or, you know, he's looking for work, for a job, and he can't find one, and then the wife is out there and she's working, praise the Lord, she's, you know, bringing in money. But then there's the internal view of the man that's thinking, you know, hey, I'm not good enough. I'm not taking care of my family. I'm not taking care of my wife. And what makes it real bad is if there's any backlash from the family, specifically the wife, that says, well, you know, I'm bringing all the money. That's going to make him feel real bad. He'll probably end up going into depression, or some, you know, some alcohol or some other type of addiction, you know, to kind of mask that pain. So again, always remember, a man needs to feel that he's taking care of his family and providing the security to the family. The other thing is, a man, again, I'm going to preface, I'm old school, will make certain that the family is protected from harm and danger. Okay, so my role is, hey, I'm going to make certain that my family, specifically my wife, knows I've locked the doors, I've checked the windows, I've checked the stove to make certain that nobody brushed into the knob and we got a gas leak somewhere, or something else is going on. Okay, I'm going to make certain that, of course, again, when I was young, I didn't do this, but I'm going to make certain that the cars are taken care of. Okay, my wife and I, we've gone through it back and forth. No gas in the car, no gas in the car. She frustrated the heck out of her. I've learned, you know what, put gas in the car. That's making certain that my wife feels secure, because I know that a woman, my wife, needs that sense of security. Okay, so that's kind of what it looks like to me. All right, making certain that those basic needs in life are taken care of by me. God, of course, is my source. God is my wife's source, but he's using me. That's my role. I take that on me. I do not look for my wife to meet that need. Okay, I look for God to meet that need. Okay.
Okay, so you said you were old school, and that is, those are very traditional, in a sense. That's a very traditional response. So what do you say to the millennials who those traditional roles they are no longer? So
Right.
maybe we have, you know, stay-at-home dads was like an absolute no-no. Who does that? You know, you heard of a stay-at-home mom, but a
Right.
stay-at-home dad. So you have the traditional roles that are no longer in effect, so to speak.
Right.
How does one still provide what you just said?
Right. So, and I
Without,
think that, no, go ahead. I'm sorry. What were you saying? Without
no,
what?
just how does one provide what you, all the things you just said, like about security and protection and all of that.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Because I mean,
Right.
security at large is you bringing in some sort of income.
Right.
So,
Well, and again, the security, we were just talking about income. Yeah. Okay. Because the other thing, like locking the doors and stuff like that, that has nothing to do with it. But the money part. So yeah, I mean, it's a new day and age. I get that. Sometimes, again, if there's kids involved, my neighbor is a prime example. His wife is an executive at a company. She makes very good money. Okay, she's bringing in six figures. He stayed at home, watched the kids, took them to school, took them to soccer practice. He did all that stuff. Okay, but it's an agreed upon thing. It's okay, here we are. You're making 200,000. If I go to work, I'm going to make 50,000. Makes sense for me to stay home. We're going to pay more in childcare, whatever. If we both go out and kind of work, at the end of the day, that makes sense. But you have to be in agreement. You have to talk it through. You have to communicate. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't diminish the man's, his part of being a man. That doesn't diminish it. As long as there is agreement, there has to be agreement, and it can never be rubbed, or the man's nose can never be rubbed in it per se. Okay, that's where we run into problems. Okay, if everybody just understands that, hey, we're doing this, this is agreed to, makes sense, we love it, bam. Also, in that case, the man needs to have himself some type of outlet. And I'm talking about a man now, but he'll need an outlet. He can't just stay at home, do all this, the stuff that we're talking about doing with the kids and not have an outlet, either a hobby or something. He cannot do. If he does that, it's going to tear that man down. I know it. Okay. He has to have an outlet. Okay. But again, that doesn't diminish the fact that he's the man. He still makes decisions. Okay. He's still actively involved in making certain that when that money comes in by his wife, that they sit down together, they talk about things, and he's able to work together with his wife and make decisions, insurance, this, that, and the other, whatever it may be, buying a car, whatever, those type of things. If you have a woman that's independent and she's more women's lib type mindset, and it's like, hey, I don't really need you, it's not going to work. Okay, that's going to really hurt that man, and the marriage is just going to be, I'm not going to say it's not going to last. It's just going to be dysfunctional, and it's going to be a painful whatever amount of years they're married. Okay. So again, nothing wrong with it. And you're right. The millennials are this new group of people. They see things a little bit differently.
So, okay. And then I'm going to ask this one final question. Well, not final, but this one other question. And then we could open up the lines again to see if anyone else has any questions. You were, what did you just say? Oh my goodness. You said about, I just loved it.
About it's a new group of people, millennials.
Yeah, we talked about the millennials.
Staying at home, money, they can still make decisions together. He still has to have a sense of respect.
Yeah. Hold on. Man, it just flew away.
While you're thinking about it, I wanted to make a comment on something that he said, and that the man is still the head. Okay, he still protects the woman, even though he, our neighbor, he does have a business that he does in the summer, so he does have some income, but he is not, the income that he has in no way reaches what his wife, his income is. And so we've got, households that's going on, that, the female is making more money than the male is making. And what I was going to share is that from a woman's point of view, that she can't have the attitude of, well, I make more money than you, I'm making the decisions, things are going to go the way I think it should go, because as believers, we have to follow the word, and the word tells us that the husband is the head of the wife, so decision making should still rest in his hand, regardless of how much money she makes or doesn't make. Okay, I think that's important to understand, because if we get it off, that'll be a problem. Okay, so I wanted to share that. Don't just think, oh, I make more money than him, now I'm the head. Money does not dictate who the head is. You know, that's dictated by the authority that is over us, which is God, and He's told us what the home should look like. Now, that man is the head of the home. He is not a spiritual head. Our head is Jesus. We don't have a monster. He is the head of the body. We are the body of Christ. Okay. But in authority in a home, in that setting, that domestic setting, God has put a husband as the head, and it's for the purpose of order. Okay. So I just want to share that.
Thank you.
Did you remember?
Okay,
Did you
I
remember it,
remember.
Tasha?
Yep, I did. So with you said there are the millennials who, I don't need a man.
Mhm.
The infamous saying or whatever. Can you tell us why that is or is not true according to the word? Like, men were made for women, or no, women were made for men, but not the other way around. So tell us why that is. And then your input on where that statement actually stems from.
Well, I mean, I think the statement stems from years of, I think we all have heard about the women's lib movement, which, again, I have no problem with women being liberated or women being independent. They certainly have that right. They're people no different than males, and they're not less than. I think it took on its own life because you had women that were bitter, were probably hurt from a bunch of different areas, perhaps a relationship with a man, and that cascaded down over the years to their children. Okay, and it could have been, it could be, and I know some in particular where it was the daughters and the mother was hurt, and the mother then says, you don't need a man, you could do things yourself, you don't this, that and the other, they're not better. I mean, just negativity towards the man. And then of course going into a relationship, the mindset is negative. So I think that's part of it. I think today with all the, I don't even know how to say it anymore, gender confusion, maybe I'll just call it that. I don't know what is really the word, but you have different lifestyles, you have, persuasions towards the same sex and all that stuff going on. And I think that has added to it as well, that there's a view that, hey, I'm this, I don't need that. I'll take on more of the role of what we would call the traditional man, not just from making the money and all that other stuff, but just in general. I mean, decisions, you're not making decisions for me. And that's, and for a man, I mean, the man is not, unless he's narcissistic, the man is not looking to make all the decisions. That's not what a male, godly man is looking to do. When we talk about being the head, the leader of the family, that is essentially like a manager, that you collaborate with your wife, you communicate, you get her. I mean, she's not there just to serve, she's there to be a part of and to help and get that from her. So but again, you have mindsets out there that it's, the devaluation of men. I've said this before, Tasha, you know it. We don't have a family problem. We have a male problem. I think the biggest problem we have, at least in the United States, and I would say at large, is the understanding in men about what a man is and supposed to do. There's so much confusion that it has really broken down that the whole male understanding to a man. And so, that's affecting families. It's affecting obviously marriages. and it's affecting the children being raised. And men are leaving, for a lot of different reasons. There's not just one reason, but men are leaving the home, or not valuing the home, or not valuing the wife, because they themselves have been disrespected, or they themselves have not had a good example in their, with their own mother and father, that we have a breakdown in the males. We have a male problem. Okay, this is my view. We have a male problem, and if the males can get together, then it's going to cascade the family. But you can't have a hyper dominating woman browbeating him and disrespecting him, or looking at him as some type of, he's a stud, and that's all I want him for. That's not what a man wants. Okay, a real man. Okay. So, all right. So that I addressed the one, where to come from. What was the other part of that question? There was another thing
biblically,
that you said.
Biblically, we used to talk about, we've talked about it before, about why, women live longer. Like if their husband dies, they typically live longer than a man lives.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, because again, man needs woman. Woman doesn't need man. She doesn't need him. She was like, I think Mom Dixie just said it. Woman is made for man. Okay. But man needs woman. It's not good that man should be alone. Okay. So what does God do? He creates, woman out of man. So man needs a woman. And then when the wife's not there, that companionship's gone and everything that it entails, unless the man is really involved in some type of service or work where he sees himself adding value, that man will not live very long if his wife is, either dies or there's something else that goes on, maybe she left. Okay. So why? Because God knows what he's doing. He knows that it's not good for man to be alone. Not lonely. It's not about lonely. It's about man being alone. Man needs companionship. He has to have that. And the greatest companionship to a man is his wife. Okay. Did that answer or respond to that?
Yes.
Or did you have a different angle? Okay.
No, that was it. Because, you can say, well, I don't need a man. And I think sometimes because we can do things, it's not that it should be done that way, but yeah, you can live, make it, you see lots of single moms these days. And I think Becky made a comment just not too long ago, people are always telling her she doesn't need a man because she's a single mom. Well, you can do things that way and it can work and you can, but it doesn't mean that you should.
Right. Right. So, exactly. Yeah. So in Becky's case or anybody else where you're a single, where you're unmarried and you have children. Okay. Do you need a man? Well, you don't need a man to be complete, but remember God's plan is that you get together. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. Okay. God's plan is man meets woman. Woman and man get married. Woman and man have children, offspring. Okay. That's God's plan to have that, we call it a nuclear family, right? Now, when we go outside of bounds, for whatever the reason, forget the reason. And of course, there's no blame and no condemnation. But when we go outside of that, things become extremely, extremely difficult. Okay. Now, how do you remedy that? Well, there's not one thing that remedies it. The first thing you have to do is know that, to what you just said, that you are complete as a woman who is raising children and, by herself. You're complete. So it's not like you have to have a man to make it in life. God will take care of you. He even said he'll be the father to the fatherless. So you're going to be okay. All right. But God's plan is not for a woman to raise children independent from her husband, or in this case, the husband being the man, of course. because it's the man's responsibility to raise the children, not the woman's. Okay? Woman has her part in that, the nurturing part. Okay? That only a mother can give to her children. That's what she needs to do. But it's the man who has the responsibility and looks to govern those children being raised and how they're raised and all that stuff. Okay? And he's going to give, directives to his lovely wife and say, okay, this is what we need to do. Here's the provision for it, whatever, this, that, and the other. And bam, it works good. We can't accept, okay, maybe that's not the right word, but we have to be careful that we do accept a culture, I shouldn't say culture, that a narrative that says, oh, it doesn't matter. You don't need a man. You don't need a husband. Just raise the kids. A mother cannot be a father to the kids. It's impossible. It's impossible. There's enough studies to all this stuff. It's if a father has the children, the father statistically will do much better, and the children will prosper in life if it's just the father that raised them rather than just the woman. Okay? All right. Let me stop because I can just keep going and start preaching pretty soon.
I'm about to burst.
Okay. All right.
I have a comment. I have a comment and then I have a question.
Okay, Kaya, I really don't want the women to comment right now. I want you to ask a question because I want my son just joined because I asked him to join also to have a young man's perspective because Tasha asked a question. He just got on. He was having some difficulty getting on, but asked a question about millennials and about the younger generation. So I asked my son John to join us because for us to hear a young man's view, because like my husband said, I'm old school, and now because there's young women that are on the line, and you can't really go by someone who has an old school mentality, and you are dealing with a younger man. So if you can hold your comment and ask your question, and then you can give your comment at the end, that'd be great. So go ahead with your question. Okay. I do want to acknowledge John Summers is joining us along with my husband, Robert Summers. Okay, so go ahead.
Okay, so my question is, what is it that a man needs from a woman in order to be a great man? Like my question for Mr. Robert was, like, what is it that you needed from Mama Dixie? Like, what did she need to be for you to become who you are now?
Okay, I'm gonna redirect that question from my husband to John because my husband already has his wife and John is not married. So why don't we direct that to a younger unmarried man to get his view of that? Okay, is that all right, Jakaya?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, John, you can come off mute. Would you kind of share that with us?
Yep, I'm off mute.
Okay, good.
All right. So the deepest thing would be love. So, and that comes in a lot of different forms. So a man wants respect. That's like a big thing with men is respect. So when you respect a man and you really listen to him and you're loving him, and I don't want to get like I'll be honest, like sex is big, sex, just communication. When you really are listening and you really like, you got to give your soul to a man. On a deeper level, like, you got to really be like, I want to connect with you on the most deepest level. And once you do that, in every way, it's like, that's when I think love blossoms. Because every man wants to be loved. But men have different love languages. So one man may be more intellectual, another man may be more physical. But, just things like, hugging him, rubbing his back, telling him, how great he is, encouraging him. Men take that and they interpret that as love, and that's what makes them, I don't want to use the word cling, but attach and want to marry a woman.
Okay.
That's as real as I could be.
Okay, thank you, John. Any other questions out there?
And I also want to say a lot of what I'm going to say is going to be obvious, and it's like I'm a man, and with women, it's kind of like it's kind of basic what makes me fall in love. I speak for myself. I can't speak for every man, but I talk to a lot of my friends, and it's a lot of times the same. It's all about love. Like anytime you truly love somebody, I mean, they're gonna feel that, and if that's what they want, then you're gonna build that love and trust, telling the truth, commitment. All these things play a part in it. But I think people don't really want to women and men, they don't really want to love. They kind of want someone else to love them, and that's where it's a problem, because no one's just going to love somebody when they're not being loved. And if they do, usually it doesn't turn out well. It turns out where one party, gets the short end of the stick. So I mean, just because you love a man and show him love, if he doesn't love himself, then you're not going to end up happy. So, but if you truly love a man and he truly loves himself, then you're good to go. You're gonna get married and you're gonna have a happy life, in my opinion. That's it.
Okay. Did anyone else have a question?
I do. I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I have a bit of a complicated situation because I am going through a divorce, and I do believe that my soon-to-be ex-husband had narcissistic behaviors. I actually watched some of Robert's YouTube videos, and I feel like that's what led me here. And I kind of opened my eyes to that. But I also realized that I was unhealthy. And I definitely went into the marriage with this mindset that I was an independent woman and I was going to be the boss, And so we were both unhealthy. And I know that I made mistakes, and I grew up just in an environment that we didn't grow up, following God. I didn't even know there was a God. I mean, until like a year and a half ago. I mean, I didn't believe in God until about a year and a half ago. I was saved. And anyways, so my life has transformed quite a bit, and I want to do things different. And while I believe things are really improving in my life, and God is taking care of me, and I feel like I'm going to be fine, I do want to be married again. And so I'm just trying to learn what that means. And I really liked what John said. I like both what Robert and John said. It's a lot to take in, but I do believe, like, I'm trying to learn, what it means to be a wife, and how to communicate properly, and how to like really love, that person. And also what to observe in a man, and knowing that he loves himself. And I feel like as I'm getting healthier, I'm going to be able to like, notice that, but I'm still like kind of learning, trying to learn what that means. Like what should I see in a man? How am I going to know that, he's healthy? And I probably have a lot of questions, but maybe just start with that one. How do I know when a man's healthy and he loves himself? Like, what should I be observing?
All right, I would observe of one, like, is he taking care of himself? And that could be like hygiene, it could be like health, fitness, a lot of things on a basic level. How does he speak about himself? How does he think about himself? What's his self-esteem like? If a man has low self-esteem, their hygiene's bad, and they don't have a job, it's like obviously he doesn't love himself, because those are the basics. Then on a higher level, it's all about having a connection with God, and knowing, who you are. And if a man has that and he has everything else, that's usually the man that every woman kind of wants, because he does love himself. And it's only going to work if you love yourself too. That's the big thing about relationships. Like, if both parties love themselves and then they come together and they're already good separate, that's when I believe sparks fly, the most, because you got two people that, it's like, I was good single, it's like, but I'm better with you. If you have someone that's
Right.
not good single, it's like, it's like that's when you have people that just become attached to one party, or they're just like, I feed off you, or I want what you have and you inside of me, and it's like you can't make someone love themselves. I mean, it's like a personal commitment you make to God, because I don't really separate loving God and loving yourself. I think it's like one and the same, in my opinion. So I think that's a big thing. If you could just look at the basics of like, health and mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, physical health, all these things play a part in it, and how they speak is really big, because if you spend a lot of time with somebody, they'll eventually open up to you, and you'll start seeing, they call it red flags, but you start seeing when someone doesn't love themselves, just of how they speak and then their actions that they do. They'll start doing self-harming things, things that are just like cries out for help to let you know that, hey, you know what, I'm having a hard time just loving myself.
That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And, I think that I struggle, I think right now, because I noticed that it seems like in our society, and maybe I'm wrong, but just kind of what I'm observing. I mean, I feel like I have a good idea of what to observe in a man, but I just, I still feel like I just want to hear people's kind of direction and guidance and whatnot. But it seems like maybe we have people in society, like even men, like who are realizing their mistakes from the past, and they're like getting help, kind of like myself, and people are finding God and they're trying to improve. Maybe not a lot of people, but some people, I mean, I feel like I've come across that. And so, I mean, I guess as long as maybe they made mistakes in the past, but they're showing kind of like that they're changing and they're different. I don't know. Maybe that's something to observe over time, and not to rush in.
and that right there, that's beautiful to me, because basically it's saying like, you're it's like you're struggling with what I'm struggling with. Like you're not loving yourself as much as you need to, and I'm not either. And let's grow together and do a better job of loving ourselves. And I think that's where a lot of people should do. Like, I think friendship is really big. If you could be someone's friend and you could be like, all right, how are you doing? Like, how are you eating right now? How are you talking to yourself? Self-talk is a big thing. So like, what's that inner dialogue like? And you really care about somebody, you guys can both improve. And like, when you see the growth, in yourself and the growth in the other person, it's like kind of like, it's encouraging. And it's like, at one point you could, fall in love, quote unquote, and get married just from that, because, there's a song, it says we found love in a broken place, but a lot of people do find love, but they find love in a broken place where they're not, quote unquote, happy. They're not in love with themselves, so it's like they'll find love, in the midst of that, because I believe people are mirrors. So like you see in somebody, like, oh, that's like me, or we're similar, and that's a connection.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And I do believe in my first marriage, I made the mistake. I didn't, really have a friendship, and I made that mistake in the past, but I definitely know I'm planning on having a friendship for sure, long-term friendship, before I ever, get married again. So thank you for sharing, John. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
I don't want to take up the time, so if anybody else has any questions, I can hold my questions for later.
No, you're good. I just want to add some, to what John said, because John really hit the nail on the head there when he talked about loving yourself, which is something, of course, a lot of people have hard times with, but that love equates to value. Okay. Right. Value of self, but then also value to the person who you're either in friendship with, or, married to, or thinking about getting married. Okay. When you value yourself, then typically it's going to roll off and you're going to value other people. When you don't value yourself, or in this case, love yourself, what happens? We hurt inside, we're wounded, we devalue ourselves, and therefore we attack other people. That's when people get hurt. So, John said it right. And that's something that you don't hear too much about in specifically the areas that we're usually in, which is the church. You hear about loving God, but not yourself. But you can't really love God unless you love yourself. He created you. So you have to love yourself in order to love him. So good job, John.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys, I just want to interject this really quick. So if you have questions and you think we might not get to them, go ahead and put them in the chat. Even if we do get to them. And then that way I can take them and we can answer them later. But at least we have the question in written form.
Okay.
So
I
Go ahead.
was gonna say this too. If we don't get to the questions, I am going to do this again next Tuesday. So I'm definitely going to have some dialogue here from men, single men, married men, to help us the women to understand, and kind of get some dialogue going that is true dialogue, not this stuff that's out there that you can kind of get, hooked into. Okay. But I saw Becky had her hand up and she put it down. So Rebecca.
I'm just struggling to try and formulate the question, and I think John answered it a bit just about men, and it might be the same for women. But when he was saying like there's an importance on like physical love and affection, and I was thinking, but that could be like when you're already married and things. So what would you like look for in the beginnings of a relationship? And then also in my situation, it's like at the moment I'm not the mother and the father, but I've got that role in the sense of I'm doing all the parts. I've got the security for the family. Everything rests on my head. So what would be a healthy way if I did meet a man to kind of give him some of that responsibility when I'm used to having it? What's a healthy way to go about that?
All right. So as far as like the physical aspect of it, like it doesn't necessarily have to be sex, but like anything, like just a kind like touch, or a hug, like something like that, like that could feel, just as important, because sometimes a hug is big, or just the way you feel about somebody, the way you look at them, all that stuff plays a part in it too. But as far as the responsibility, I didn't really understand the question 100%. You said the responsibility that you have with your kids, and how should he act about that?
Yeah, like what's a healthy way for me to kind of step back? Because at the moment I'm doing everything, all the mum jobs, if you want to call it, and all the dad jobs. So that could be off-putting to a man, because I could like be demasculating because I'm so used to doing his roles. So I'm not sure how's a healthy way for me to let go and to let like a stranger into our family and step up, like in the step family situation, and take care of kids that aren't his, and me to let go of some of that
Indeed.
control.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
off mute.
Let me. Okay, you can go first.
Okay, I was going to say this in being the female, because you're kind of like asking a female question to a male.
No, that's a male question, by the way. That's a male question. That's a male question.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. So it depends on what type of man. It depends on what type of man that you want. So there's different types of men. There's more dominant men, like myself. Like I'm more like dominant and aggressive. So I want to come in and like see the situation and be like, all right, these are your kids. I love your kids. Like they're my kids. Like this, like what are we gonna do? This is what we're gonna do. Like, right? Isn't this a good idea? You get your input and whatever. There's men like that. They're gonna step in the situation. They're gonna be the leader. So they're gonna immediately want to be a leader. That's my ideal man. In a way, I like men like that, because it's like, I think women, like, it's like, you get the one guy, it's like, oh, what do you want to eat? What do you want to eat? And this one guy's like, we're going here. We're getting hibachi steakhouse today. And it's like, oh my God, you made the decision for me. That makes it easy for me. So I think men naturally would like to make decisions. So giving a man that power is, it's liberating for him. But that's why you have to make sure you really love him, because you're giving him that trust and that ability to really, cause havoc. If he's a bad decision maker and he's, not a loving person, he can come in your house and he could just destroy it, and it could be worse than when he came. But if it's a great man and you love him and he's a, genuine positive person, he's going to come in, he's going to see, what can I do to help the most? He's going to establish rules, and he's going to, act on his love, and he's going to end up making the situation better. But some men don't want that. Some men just want to be led by a woman, and I can't speak from that because I'm not the type of man. But what I can say is, you just have to wear the pants, and you have to make all the decisions and take care of him.
Okay, Dixie. All right, Dixie. Hey, Dixie.
This is me laughing.
Okay, right.
Okay,
So
I'm getting ready.
no, you're not answering. No, you're not answering it. Nope, you're not answering it.
She asked a woman, what does she do as a woman?
You're going.
To release?
Hold on. You have to. Okay, but here's the thing. This is our life. Okay, this is not something out of a book. We have lived this. You were, previously married, 3 kids. I come into the picture. Okay, so what had to be there? Because although I wouldn't say I was aggressive or dominant, I would say this, that when I came in, I was like, no, this is what we're going to do with the kids. We're going to get them out of here. We're going to put them in a house. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, I know we had to have trust. You had to trust me. Going back to what John said, there had to be that love / value, okay, that had to be there. And so I was going to do, I did what I did. You had to what was the struggles you were going through internally with, here's this guy, okay, younger than you, never was married, doesn't know a Sam Hill beans about kids, okay, but I step in and I come immediately with wisdom that you didn't have. Okay, let's just be honest. Okay, we were talking the other day with Tasha. People want real. They don't want fake. Okay. You
said okay. Problem what I have with what you said. You said you wanted aggressive and dominant, and I object, Your Honor, because
you're my son.
you were pretty dominant and pretty aggressive. So that's it.
Okay. All right. So my son.
I totally agree.
So I'm.
Matter of fact, I want to say something.
I'm grading myself, and I said
okay,
no, but my son said yeah.
We'll go with my husband told me when we got married, I used to talk on the phone with my friends, and he said, "You married now? Ain't no more talking on the phone with your friends. Your friends better go find some single woman they can talk to because you're married now." So I'm laughing at this, but that's a good question, though, Becky. That's a real good question, and I want to say this to address because there are a lot of single mothers. And we've got to look at what does it look like to relinquish what we've been doing. We've had all the responsibility. And now you have a man, just like you got these 2 men on here telling you that, hey, they want to dominate. They want to tell you. And that's really the nature of a man. It's not the nature of a man to come in and not want to have his family go the way God's telling him. That's not the nature of a man. So, I mean, I think my son and husband are, they're saying, well, this is our view, but really most men have that view, is that they want their house to run the way that they know as the head it should run. Well, here's the woman now. That question you asked, Becky, really kind of goes to the woman. That's why I was laughing. What does she do if she's been taking on the head of the household responsibility? Because she could never be a father. A woman cannot be a father. I don't care. Women can't be fathers. Okay, they can only be mothers. All right. So what if she's been taking the head of the household and making the decisions? How does she begin to relinquish that? Is really good, because in my case, I could just share you with what I did. There were some things that I did not want to relinquish to my husband, although he was telling me this needed to be relinquished to me. This is how this family should go. And what my intellect, my mind, I thought I knew something back then. I was like, well, he don't know. He don't even have any kids. Well, but yet he came in and he was right. He knew better how to deal with the kids than I did. Because it's something in a man that's his role. If women would let them be in that role and men would step up and be who they're supposed to be, this thing would run like a well-oiled machine. For real, it will. But what I had to do, Becky, in my situation is I had to say, that's not my role. He knows what it is. And some things, he made decisions on. And sometimes I was kicking and screaming. But he was like, this is how it's going to go. And that's it, And that should be the way the man should act. Now, the way the woman should act should not be the way I acted. I'm just being real with you guys. I was acting like, well, he don't know, you know, I'm doing this on my own or whatever. And I was doing a messed up job because it's just not the way God wants the family to function, to where, you know, you got a woman that's holding positions that she was never meant to hold. So we got this out here, and it's a reality, but it's not God's best. Okay, it's not what it's supposed to look like. So what do you do now? Okay.
But the thing is this, is I was thinking about this the other day, like the word just woman, and like there's a man and woman. Like some women are the father and the mother, and some of them do the best they can at doing that, and you got to tip your hats to them. And sometimes women make better decisions than men do. So I believe it's really a balance in the whole thing. You can't give a man a complete decision-making abilities and watch him make bad decisions. You have to sit there and you have to step up. Like, you know, my sister,
I agree. I was getting ready to say that, John. So it was good. I was going to say,
yeah.
So
yeah,
the things that he knew what needed to be done was good. But the things that I knew God was saying, I did not sit there like a dummy or like, I'm just a submissive wife that don't say anything. No, I said, no, that's not right. So submission doesn't mean you don't have a voice. It just means that when there's a final decision to be made, you submit your will to that other person. And then you go and you deal with God. God will deal with my husband. I'm telling you guys, he will deal with my husband. Everybody, I mean, hear me. You are not just in this thing, and then whatever this man says and does, you're just this slave, and you're just bound, and no help around. You're just, you know, you're just now this person that has no voice. That's not what submission means. It doesn't.
Right. And I'm gonna throw value out there again. If the man values you, then he's going to value what you have to say. Okay, Dixie and I have been married 39 years. And again, even if I said, no, we're doing this, we're doing that, and if she gives her input, which she should do, I'm not the type of person where I'm just throw it down her throat and say, no, this, I don't care what you think. That's where, when you say you don't care what somebody else thinks, you're devaluing them. Okay? So it comes down, again, to the value. You're going to have to watch for that. Does he value himself? Going back to what John said, does he value me?
Exactly. That's why it's so important to be ready to cut somebody off. No, but seriously, if someone isn't bringing value to the table, I would never stay with someone that's just like, you're bringing all the value. Like that's just me personally. And it could be, you know, wrong, quote unquote. But if someone isn't, you know, stepping up and helping, it's like I think that's why a lot of relationships, you know, end. It's just like, hey, look, I'm doing a lot, and you're not doing your part, you know. So it's like, you know, it's balance in the whole thing. Because if the man's making every decision and the woman has no, you know, good ideas, and she's just doing, you know, God knows what, it's like the man's eventually gonna be like, do I even need this woman? And vice versa. You know, the woman's like, look, I'm the one. You know, I know girls that like they have jobs, and if guy doesn't have a job, it's like, yeah, you don't work, you don't have any money, you don't have a bright idea. Like, why am I even with you? So it's like, it's really, you know, it's equal in its own way. Like, obviously, you know, a man has things that they're naturally more, you know, inclined to do, and a woman has innate things too. You know, I say women with emotion and men with logic. But sometimes it's vice versa. It just depends on the person.